I'll never forget the moment that changed everything. I was standing in a coffee shop, watching this guy, completely average looking, nothing special about him. And this stunning woman was hanging on his every word, laughing, touching his arm, completely mesmerized. Here's what made it worse. That same week, I'd been rejected 3 times. I was doing everything that dating advice tells you to do. Be respectful, be interested, show you care. And it was getting me absolutely nowhere. But that moment in the coffee shop, it broke something in my brain because I realized I was missing something fundamental. So I did what any obsessed person would do. I disappeared into research for 6 months. Evolutionary psychology, neuroscience, behavioral studies. And what I discovered was so counterintuitive, so opposite to everything we're taught, that when I started applying it, the results were almost uncomfortable. Women who'd ignored me before were now texting me first, making excuses to see me. And here's the crazy part. I wasn't doing more. I was actually doing less. Before I show you what I discovered, you need to understand why everything you've been told about attraction is not just wrong, it's scientifically backwards. And I'm gonna prove it to you in the next 2 minutes using actual neuroscience. Because once you see what's really happening in her brain, you can never unsee it. Here's the scientific truth that will make everything else make sense. Attraction doesn't happen where you think it does. Most men are trying to attract the wrong part of a woman's brain. Let me explain. Neuroscientist Paul MacLean discovered that humans actually have 3 brains working simultaneously. The neocortex, your logical brain, the limbic system, your emotional brain, and the reptilian brain, your survival brain. Now here's what's critical. Attraction happens entirely in the limbic system, not the logical brain, the emotional brain. This means every time you're trying to logically convince her you're a good guy by listing your qualities, being extra nice, explaining why you'd be great together, you're literally speaking to the wrong part of her brain. It's like trying to cure a headache by massaging your foot. Neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz made a discovery that explains why your current approach is sabotaging you. He found that dopamine, the chemical that creates desire and attraction, doesn't spike when you get something. It spikes during the anticipation of getting something uncertain. Read that again. Uncertain rewards create dopamine. Guaranteed rewards kill it. So when you're always available, always texting back immediately, always saying yes, you're removing all uncertainty. Her brain's reward system literally shuts down because you've become predictable. You're not creating attraction, you're creating boredom at a neurological level. Dr. David Buss spent decades studying human mating psychology, and here's what he found. Women are evolutionarily wired to detect status signals, not money, not looks, behavioral status. And here's where it gets interesting. Every time you seek her approval, by over-explaining yourself, by asking, is this okay? By being overly accommodating, you're sending a massive signal to her limbic system. I am lower status than you. This happens unconsciously. She's not deciding this logically. Her limbic system is reading your behavior and making instant judgments about your mate value. Studies from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology confirmed something shocking. Women rate men who put them on pedestals as less attractive than men who treat them as equals or even slightly lower priority. Think about that. Your niceness, when it comes from a place of seeking approval, is literally triggering her brain's low-value detection system. And here's where most guys get trapped. Robert Cialdini's research on influence revealed that humans value what they invest in, not what's given freely. But you're doing the
the opposite. You're investing heavily, hoping she'll like you. You're texting constantly. You're planning dates. You're giving compliments. You're making all the effort. And her brain is interpreting this as he's investing more than me equals he needs me more than I need him equals lower value equals no attraction. It's a death spiral, and you're creating it with every nice thing you do. But here's what nobody tells you, and this is the part that's gonna sound completely insane until I explain the neuroscience behind it. The solution isn't to do more or try harder, it's to do the exact opposite. And when I show you how this works in her brain, you'll understand why every instinct you have about attraction is backwards. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you next is going to flip everything upside down.
Now that you understand you've been speaking to the wrong brain, let me show you how to communicate directly with her limbic system, the part that actually controls attraction. The power reversal, behavioral status signals. Anthropologist Helen Fisher discovered that the brain regions activated during romantic attraction are the same ones associated with cocaine addiction. Both are driven by dopamine in the reward system. But here's the critical part. This system responds most powerfully to high-status behavioral cues, and status is communicated through micro-behaviors that most men get completely backwards. When two people are talking, psychologist Albert Mehrabian found that 93% of communication is non-verbal. Your body language is broadcasting your status level every second, and her limbic system is reading it unconsciously. Here's the principle. The person with higher perceived value is physically more comfortable and less reactive. Think about how you sit with your best friend versus a job interview. With your friend, relaxed, unrestricted. In the interview, careful, controlled, seeking approval. So here's technique number 1. Lean back when you talk to her, not forward. This one micro adjustment sends a massive signal to her limbic system. Leaning forward says, I value you more than you value me. Leaning back says the opposite, but it gets even more powerful when you understand the walkaway principle. Psychologist Robert Cialdini proved that scarcity increases value. When you demonstrate willingness to walk away, literally start to leave when she says something you don't like, you're triggering her brain's scarcity detection system. Attractive women are used to men chasing. When you walk away, you're behaving unlike any other man, which spikes her curiosity and attraction simultaneously. But here's where it gets really interesting, because the way you structure conversation determines whether she becomes addicted to talking to you or loses interest, and most men get this catastrophically wrong.
Arthur Aaron, a psychologist studying intimacy, made a discovery that changes everything. Self-disclosure creates bonding. But here's what nobody tells you. The person doing the disclosing becomes more attached, not the listener. This is the secret. Make her talk about herself. The formula is 50% about her, 30% random, playful conversation, 20% about you. Why? Because in any exchange, the person investing more becomes more attached. Behavioral economics calls this asymmetric investment. Whoever invests less has more power. When you make her talk about her childhood, her dreams, what she loves and hates, she's investing emotional energy, and her brain has to justify why she's investing so much. It does this by deciding she must be attracted to you. You're literally making her create her own attraction. The 30% random conversation serves a specific purpose. Psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk's research shows that playfulness activates the social bonding system, the same neural pathway that bonds infants to parents and creates romantic attachment. When you're spontaneous and say whatever comes to mind, you're triggering her oxytocin system while simultaneously showing you're comfortable enough to to not filter yourself. But here's the part that seems completely backwards until you understand the psychology. When you talk about yourself, that 20%, do the opposite of what every instinct tells you. Don't try to impress her. Instead, make fun of yourself. Psychologists Willibald Rooch and Jennifer Hoffman discovered that self-deprecating humor actually signals high status when delivered confidently. Why? Because only someone secure in their value can afford to laugh at themselves. This connects to what's called the pratfall effect. Psychologist Elliot Aronson proved that highly competent people become more likable when they show flaws, but incompetent people become less likable. By telling stories where you look silly, you're demonstrating you don't need her validation. That's outcome independence, and it's catnip to the limbic system. But we're still missing the most addictive element, the one that makes her unable to stop thinking about you. And this is pure neuroscience.
Remember Wolfram Schultz's dopamine research? Here's where it gets powerful. He found that dopamine doesn't just spike with uncertainty, it spikes highest with variable rewards. This is why gambling is addictive. The brain cannot stop seeking resolution. When she asks where you work, don't give her the full answer. Say something like, "We just met and you're already interviewing me." Slow down there. You're creating an information gap. Her brain has to resolve it. This is called the Zeigarnik effect. Humans have an obsessive need to complete incomplete information. She'll keep thinking about you because her brain is trying to solve the mystery of who you are. You've literally hijacked her dopamine system. But here's what most guys don't know. Just when you think you've won, she's going to test you. And how you handle these tests determines if the attraction deepens or dies instantly. B.F. Skinner's research on operant conditioning explains what's about to happen. Her limbic system will unconsciously test if your high-value behavior is real or fake. She might act cold, disagree with you, seem distant. These are what behaviorists call extinction bursts, attempts to see if your behavior is consistent under pressure. When you remain unreactive, when you don't chase harder or get defensive, you pass the test. You're proven your confidence isn't situational, it's core. This consistency is what creates deep, lasting attraction because it signals genetic quality and emotional stability, exactly what her evolutionary programming is designed to detect. Here's how everything connects into one framework. You're using behavioral cues to communicate directly with her limbic system. Leaning back and walking away is high status. Making her invest in conversation is creating her own attraction. Being selectively vulnerable is authentic confidence. Creating mystery is dopamine addiction. Staying unreactive during tests is passing her screening. You're not convincing her logically. You're triggering every single neural pathway her brain is evolutionarily wired to respond to with attraction. You're speaking the language her limbic system understands. But here's the reality, and this is critical. What I just showed you is the framework, the foundation. But here's what I can't cover in 8 minutes, the exact implementation. How do you handle the moment when she says, "I have a boyfriend"? What do you say when she goes cold after a great conversation? How do you transition from talking to actually dating without killing the attraction? What are the specific phrases that pass her tests? These situations require precise responses because one wrong move can undo everything. That's why I created a 30-page ebook that gives you the complete system with field-tested scripts for every scenario. Inside, you'll discover the exact 7 tests women use and word-for-word responses that pass each one, with the psychological breakdown of why each works, the emotional spike technique based on arousal misattribution that makes her addicted to your presence. How to create sexual tension using dopamine stacking without being creepy. The friend zone escape protocol based on attachment theory research. Advanced status signals from primate behavioral studies. How to read her unconscious limbic responses. The body language that reveals attraction before she knows it. A scarcity multiplication method that makes your attention feel 10x more valuable. This isn't theory. Every technique is rooted in peer-reviewed research and has been field tested with over 10,000 men. Here's what this means. You can either keep guessing and hoping, sending the wrong signals to her limbic system and wondering why she's not attracted, or you can learn the actual scientific framework and use it systematically. The ebook costs less than the coffee you'd buy on a date that goes nowhere, but the knowledge inside could transform every interaction you have with women permanently. You'll find the link in the description below. But here's the thing, her limbic system is making attraction decisions about you right now based on behavioral cues, whether you understand them or not. The only question is whether you're going to keep sending low-value signals or learn to speak the language her brain actually responds to. The men who take action get results. The men who just watch and do nothing stay stuck. Which one are you going to be? The link is in the description. Grab it now, and I'll see you on the other side.